Welcome to today's EMS Leadership Q&A. And one of the questions we have here is, what resources are available for volunteer organizations? It's a really great question, and I think there's probably so many directions we could take this question, Lisa. But first, I'm just going to point out that career or volunteer, we're all professionals, and we're still committed to doing the same work. And I think if you keep that kind of front of mind when you're talking about when you find yourself differentiating between, oh, but we're just a volunteer organization. I think that's really important for our industry. But if you're asking this question around funding resources, I think the number one funding usually for EMS organizations is local funding in your local government. And this is a real opportunity for you to develop strategic partners with your elected officials, educate them. I used to go down to our town board every year on an annual basis and make sure we had a meeting with them. I'd bring the little toolkit and a presentation, and I'd explain, because frankly, they don't know or have much of a clue about what we do or the difference between a paramedic and an EMT and why it's important. And that, well, maybe you bill. Well, what are billing practices? Why should we bill? And that so I think it's a really important point to develop those relationships. And then if you look at the a different level, you've got community foundations across the country. If you search for the community foundation for your region, they usually have many resources where they pool resources together and take grant applications annually. There's the FEMA AFG in the United States, where there's money set aside for EMS, although it is pretty appalling. 2% of the money is set aside for EMS. There are other fundraising opportunities that you could do at a local level. The MedicOne Foundation out of Seattle is, I think, a great example. They're pretty famous for their fundraising, and they even encourage patients and survivors and community members to develop endowments. And really, that's a really larger source of funding and ongoing funding for your organization.
Yeah, and I think it's just Googling that question, is a great idea for people, because there's a lot more available than we often know. But if you're coming from the mindset is, oh, we're a volunteer organization, we have to operate on a shoestring budget, then it limits your capacity to discover what's out there. So I think that's really important. And I think the developing the strategic partnerships that you mentioned. But I also think it's important to think in terms of how can you expand the diversity on your board, not just in terms of the way we normally think of diversity, but also in terms of, do you have business people on your board? Do you have people who specialize in public relations or communications? And you need folks with a lot of different perspectives, because it opens up the possibilities of just endless possibilities. And we have a lot of resources available on our website for leadership development, strategic planning, just a lot of ways that you can access free resources, and even some ones to invest in. But for sure, you want to sign up for our 911 leadership email list, because you will get information all the time on what will be beneficial to your organization.
Excellent. Sounds great. Thanks, Lisa.